Welcome everyone. Today we're going to continue, this is I guess video 3, talking about analysis. Hair, skin, and scalp. Our first two videos we talked about scalp analysis, and I put more attention to that, not because I think it's more important, but because my experience with the state is they think it's more important. I mean, I've been doing this for a really long time. I'm licensed in 7 states. I have teacher credential in 2 states. I mean, I'm not, it's not patting myself on the back. It's making the point that I've spoken to thousands of students over the years, and I have a very good feeling for what's on the test. And I know that of the broad subject, hair, skin, and scalp analysis, scalp tends to be the most heavily tested, followed then by hair. And there's 4 terms you absolutely must understand if you plan on passing your test the first go around. The first one under hair analysis is texture. Texture, you can think of as the size of each piece of hair. The state likes the word diameter, D-I-A-M-E-T-E-R. It's the size or the diameter of each piece of hair. And if you've done enough people's hair, you've probably noticed that, forgetting whether it's curly or straight or blonde or brown or red or black, each piece of hair is different. Some people's hair is like rope, each piece of hair. Some is like thread. And sometimes on the same head, you've got some pieces that are very thin, some are very thick. All of this goes to hair texture. And if you pull out a piece of hair from the front of your head and pull out one from back here, you'll see on your own head, the one from your hairline is much thinner or finer than the one in the back of your head. This has to do with texture, the size or the diameter of each piece of hair on your head. Now the next word they talk about is density. This has to do with the number of hairs per square inch. It says nothing about the size of those hairs. This is how many you have per square inch. Now, the numbers are all over the place on hair texture, hair density, the number of hairs per square inch. What your book does mention is people with naturally blonde hair have the greatest hair density. And this really points out graphically the difference in texture and density. Okay? If you go out and you ask 10 people at random who has the thickest hair, very few people are going to tell you blonde. But they actually do. People with naturally blonde hair have the greatest density. In other words, the greatest number of hairs on their head per square inch. Each piece of hair is very fine, which is why blonde hair tends to look very thin and fine. But that goes to texture, not density. Density is the number of hairs per square inch. Texture is the size or diameter of those hairs. And then you've got elasticity. The simple textbook definition of elasticity says the hair's ability to stretch and return without breaking. It goes on to say wavy or curly hair, when wet, can stretch up to 50% and then come back without breaking, which is why you must be very careful when you're cutting someone's hair wet with curly or wavy hair, because quite frequently it's going to dry way too short. And when the person's sitting in your chair saying, "You cut my hair too short," trust me, when you say to them, "Well, don't worry, it will grow," they never go, "Oh, you never thought about that? Yeah, sure, no problem. See you next month," okay? That conversation will not happen. There will be a lot of complaining, moaning, possibly tears. "You cut my hair too short." Keep in mind on the test, elasticity, wavy or curly hair when wet can stretch up to 50% and come back when it dries without breaking. Straight hair will stretch up to 20% and come back when it dries without breaking. Now, the last one you've got here is porosity. The book says porosity is the hair's ability to absorb moisture. It's a very simple definition, the ability to absorb moisture. Now, they talk about low porosity and high porosity, and for some reason this is always a confusion for people. And low porosity means the cuticle of your hair is closed very tightly, and because of that your hair will process slowly. If your hair has low porosity, the cuticle is closed and it will process slowly. Usually children, they don't do much to their hair. Conversely, if your hair has high porosity, the cuticle is open. When the cuticle is open, the hair will process more quickly. So low porosity, cuticle is closed, will take more time to process. There's your state board test question. What type of porosity will take longer to process? Low. High porosity cuticle is open. There's your state board test question. What type of porosity will process quickly? High porosity. Now here's one of the state board test question. What effect or what impact does heat have on porosity? Well, heat opens the cuticle of your hair. It gives your hair high porosity. Heat speeds up. Now, most people understand this just from experience. You put a person with foil highlights under a dryer for heat or heat lamps. Now, every manufacturer tells you don't do that. Everyone does it anyway. You put the foil bleach on your client's hair. Remember, they call it lightener or decolorizer on your test, not bleach. You put them under a dryer, heat lamps, steamer. The heat opens the cuticle of the hair, makes it process more quickly. The other state board exam question says, what impact does cold air have? Cold air closes the cuticle, will slow down processing. Here's a state board example. Your client is sitting next to a heating vent. The heat's blowing on this side of the client's head, and you have, let's say, a whole bunch of bleach foils. I said again, bleach, lightener or decolorizer. The heat will process on this side. This side is ready, and this side isn't. By the time this side catches up, this side is overdone. So what effect does heat have on porosity? Heat opens the cuticle, makes the hair process more quickly. Now, we're going to stop here because that's pretty much what you need to know as far as analysis of the hair. In our third video in this little short series will be analysis of the skin. Very simple, very straightforward. Look forward to seeing you.